The only other thing to mention that we haven't yet is that so we're going to be talking. The plan is to talk about burnout for about an hour, so about 5 my time, and then afterwards we'll hopefully, if anyone had any questions, hopefully we'll have time to get around to doing a little Q&A. So if you've got any questions about burnout or anything like that, then just write question in capitals and then your question in chat, and we'll try and have a look at it a bit later. So let's get into the actual animation talk show. That would be nice, huh, guys? So I was thinking we could just like go around and just like describe what do we think burnout is, because there's a lot of different definitions of what it is, and I think it's also different specifically to what artists think it is. So,
I guess, you want to start?
for me, or
Yeah, you go for it.
okay, yeah. So for me, it's kind of the being so mentally exhausted that you can't do things to your full capacity anymore. It's like you get so stressed that you mentally and physically wear yourself out, to the point where you can't perform correctly at your job. It's probably what I would describe burnout as. Like medically, burnout is actually a lot more serious than that. It's more of a long-term thing. It's more of something that has been going on for many months, and you need, proper medical attention for. Whereas I think when artists describe what it is, I think they're actually more talking about just being worn out is what I see it as the point when you're getting run down and sick and not being able to work properly anymore because you've pushed yourself to the point where you can't do that anymore, is what I think it is.
Have you had like any of that? I mean, why you've been doing like animation or?
Yeah, yeah, I have. That was gonna come later though. So,
Oh, sorry.
what do you think it is though? Like to you, what do you think?
I don't know. Like to me, yeah, to me it would be like just like your creativity is like stuck to such a like you like reach this moment that your creativity is so stuck they just can't produce anything, even if you know like everything like principles and this is like these are my poses. It just somehow your brain just blocks you from trying to make the in betweens and all of these ones. Like I don't know. That's to me because I mean it has happened to me. So it's like yeah, you just don't know what to do with like your animation. And I think it's more like a mental state to me. Because I mean when you're like depending what you do, I think because if you do a lot of animation, I think that happens. But if you do like a labor job or something, and then you can do animation later, I think that's maybe that can work. I don't know. It did work for me. So yeah, that's what I think it is. Mental maybe.
I think it's mental too. I find like I'm sure that there's definitely burnout that comes from physical labor, but there's something about being able to do a job and shut your brain off and just do the work that to some extent is also kind of refreshing. Oh, hello.
Oh, a wild fourth
Hey,
member appears.
sorry to disturb or interrupt you
It's
both.
okay. We're not far in. We got off to a shaky start, so you haven't missed much. Although your camera is really out of focus.
Is it okay?
But we were literally just starting talking about what we think burnout is.
Should we let the introduction
Yeah,
happen though?
Henry, do you? I didn't actually grab your showreel stuff, so I don't know
Oh,
if you
that's
wanna.
because I didn't send it.
Yeah.
Let me, or you you continue talking and then
Sure, we'll send it
I'll
out
grab it.
later. But maybe if you just like really quickly, just tell everyone who you are and
Oh,
where you've been working.
where I've been working. I'm an animator. I've been animating for about 13 years, and recently I was the lead animator at Capcom Vancouver, working on some fun things. And yeah, and now I'm just excited to join the stream here. But sorry for interrupting. I'll grab my reel so you can send that out later. But yeah, continue on with your uh, with your with your piece there.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying.
But oh man, I completely lost my train of thought.
Okay. Well, Henry,
But yeah,
yeah.
I think, yeah, when it comes to just burnout overall, I do think it comes from the fact that we are doing something that requires a lot of mental stimulation for a very
Mm,
long period of time.
yeah.
And like we need to do that as fast as possible as well as possible for a little amount of time, and you don't really get the chance for your brain to rest or do something else. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from, is just it's just essentially like an overstimulation. At least that's what I felt it was.
Yeah, Henry, what do you think burnout is? Because I was saying that it I feel like it medically it's defined as something that's been going on for several months that needs medical attention, but I think that artists don't necessarily talk about burnout as the lowest, the worst form of it. It's sometimes it's when you just say, oh, I'm just feeling a bit burnt out, it's just like that day is not a good day for you, or sometimes it's a lot worse than that. So like what do you like think burnout is like to you?
I think usually when I'm burnt out, I'm like not very motivated to do the work. I can't put like 100% of myself into it, and then the work suffers, and it's just kind of being in a lull or so. It's just like mental fatigue, and
Mm,
yeah, just it's just kind of you're stuck in a rut type of a deal. And yeah, that's kind of I guess my definition of it.
yeah. I think, like, yes, exactly. Completely agreed with what you all said, except for that I do think you can get, even if you're just mentally fatigued, like, we don't go around lifting boxes all day. But I do think that if you cause yourself enough mental fatigue, it can be displayed as physical symptoms, like being fatigued, like just, getting run down. The kind of definitions, that we find are exhaustion of physical or emotional strength or motivation, usually a result from prolonged stress or frustration. And I think that our jobs can have a lot of stress associated with them, which is why I think it's so common that a lot of people talk about being burnt out, especially as artists in the industry. And some of the other things I found were physical or mental collapse, which I guess is the worst form of it, where you just completely have to shut off because you just can't handle even the smallest amount of it. And it's also described as putting all of your energy into your career and not having other areas of your life out of balance. So having work be so important to the point where your family life, your social life, your personal interests are lesser, which I think is interesting that they said personal interest, because I think for many of us, animation is both something we do for work and as a personal interest, which might be one of the issues we have. It's like, where does the line between what is work and what is fun cross over? Because many of us take work home with us, so that's difficult. And then I didn't know if I was touched on this or not, but we also get things like RSI, repetitive strain injury, which is a physical way of burning your wrist out in a way. It's where you've been working so hard that you're aggravating the muscles in your hand and you can't work. So I was thinking, that could also be one.
Oh yeah, I've definitely had that where like
Yeah.
absolutely the physical side of things can get really burnt out, and have RSI, was it called? I don't know the.
Yeah, it's called a repetitive strain injury is the technical
Right,
term. So
yeah.
everyone just says RSI because it's quicker. But
Right.
yeah, you can have it anywhere, but it can get so bad that you literally have to have injections into your hand, so because the muscles have become so inflamed that they're cutting off, I think, circulation or something. I don't know. Someone back me up on this.
I think a lot of it
You
has to
know,
do, it's like the inflammation, and also just the fact that like your arm isn't really meant to twist that way all the time. Like,
right.
it feels normal when you're resting on a desk.
Yep. And
But
because you're repetitively doing it, because it's that
yeah,
small action thousands and thousands of times.
Yeah. Or just kind of sitting, like doing an all-nighter, animating a shot,
Right.
and not realizing how much time has passed. I'm just kind of like sitting there, and then when you get up, you're like your back's aching and all that. Like that happens quite often. So
D-
yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone besides me have a vertical mouse?
Oh, I
used to.
tried one. I hated it.
Oh, I love it. I've got mine
Oh,
at home. It's a blast.
Oh,
Like I have a gaming mouse at work and my vertical mouse at home. They should probably be swapped,
Mm.
but I like I grabbed it like when I first started working at my first job at ARC because I was doing overtime. And one of the things that I did because I started there and I was thrown immediately onto overtime, and the more I was there, the worse I would feel about things.
yeah.
Like I was having knee and back problems, I was having
Wow.
wrist problems, I was having eye strain issues. So I got all of the ergonomic things in my time
Wow.
there because I basically lived there at that point. So it made sense to me that should make my desk as comfortable as possible.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
again, first job, I didn't like, I assumed I was going to be there a really long time and not only a year. So, like, I got one of those standing desk extensions so that I could, like, that thing was a godsend. I loved it to bits, but everyone thought I was really pretentious. It was great. It was a really great purchase. And I did like lessen the wrist strain, and I got Gunnar glasses for work too, just to deal with eye strain because we
Wait, say
were
that
doing.
again. You got what kind of
I have
glasses?
computer glasses, the yellow tinted gaming glasses.
Oh,
I
okay.
was I was in the basement, like where the lighting
Hang on, hang
department.
on. I want to just get this really quick picture of you with yellow tinted glasses on, standing up at your desk with your vertical mouse. Yeah?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, okay.
No, I
No
wanted to be as
judgment.
freaking comfortable as possible. I lived there. I have a desk pillow. Like I had all of the things. But yeah, it was the dark basement room, and I was very not used to working. Well, I shouldn't say. I've been used to doing a lot of work, but like that job was where I was really starting to feel the burn,
Mm.
essentially.
Feel the burn. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, are you feeling the burn today? Oh yeah, I'm just really feeling the burn. Got that crunch coming up. Oh, then you'll really feel the burn.
The crunch never stopped at ARC, that's for sure.
Hey, Sedona, how did you find the Gunner glasses? Were they helpful at all?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
curious.
yeah, I still use mine at my current job, which is actually well lit. One of my coworkers had a pair at his desk, and they let me try them on. And again, I really stress we were in the lighting department, and if anyone at a studio like has been to their lighting department, it is dark there because they need to see as much as they physically can. So for us, it was a very dark basement, and I didn't realize my eyes were hurting so much until I put them on and went, oh no, now I need these because like I like my eyeballs. I'm happy that I don't have to wear normal glasses yet. And
Mm-hmm.
Hey
but it
now.
ended up
Hey now.
I no, my family, like my mom's side, like they are blind as bats. Like my sister can't see beyond this far of her face, and I'm just like,
Sure.
oh, these wonderful eyeballs. I must protect them. So yeah, I got the Gunnar glasses. I still use them whenever I start to get like any sort of eye strain or headaches at work. They are amazing because they slightly magnify everything along with cutting out the blue light. And
Right. It,
I
it
just
gives you
I
more
did
contrast, right?
it. Yeah, it just take everything from like 10 point font to 12-point font just by putting the glasses on. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But
Right.
they just, yeah, I just, as soon as I put them on, I feel my eyes just relax immediately. And it's so, yeah, I would do every little thing I could to avoid being uncomfortable so I could do as much as I could.
You're like the
Right.
king of preventing unwanted burnout and injuries. That's awesome. You know, the funny thing is that I never actually wore glasses before I was working in the industry, and I never had a problem with it. And then I started getting a series of, I started getting really bad eye strain to the point where even looking at Maya or just my computer I was like, oh my God, my eye, that really hurts. And then I started getting migraines, and I looked it up, and someone was like, oh, maybe you need glasses. And I was like, what? No, I can see fine. Like, I don't have blurred vision or anything. And they're like, yeah, but, you know, maybe you should go get it checked out. And I did, and it turned out that I do have, my vision is fine, but one of my eyes is slightly rugby ball shaped. So my eyes focus slightly differently. And the guy said it's so small that you would not ever notice this if you were working any other job than a computer job or reading a lot. Like reading and computers are the only two things you'll ever need glasses for this thing, because it's just how you focus slightly differently, and because we are focused on, you know, stuff. And then as soon as I started doing that, eye strain went away, migraines went away, and you know these glasses are like the thinnest pair of glasses you'll ever see because they just have a slight difference in how they focus. And it was interesting you talked about the standing desks and stuff as well because when I was working at Creative Assembly, they had a masseuse that would come in every like 6 weeks, and every like so often you could get like a free massage. And when I initially heard about that, I was like, oh wow, it's like a cushy life being, you know, whoa, massage, whatever, you know, that's such a nice perk to go and relax or whatever. And then I went, and she was like, oh, you know, what's your pain level? And I was like, I don't know, if it's really bad, I'll just tell you to stop. So that never happened. So but you know, they were intense. But then every now and again she would say, does someone sit to your right that you talk to a lot? And I'd be like, yeah, there's no one on my left. I only ever look to my right. And she'd be like, yeah, I can tell because all your back is sore on this side, not on the other side. And I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And she was like, yeah. And also where you've got this pain in your neck, if you move this one screen here and this other screen here and make sure you're rotating like this instead of like this all day, that'll go away. So then I changed that. And then I was having all my RSI problems. And it would get to the point where it would start with pain here and literally travel up my whole arm to the point where my whole arm was in pain. And I can't remember. Oh, she gave me this stretch to do. You know, this one?
Mm-hmm.
And it like stretches all of this out. And that helped massively. And then I went away thinking, oh my God, this was, you know, I spend, you know, I go to work and I do a full day of work doing this stuff. And then I go home and I do even more of it. And, you know, just changing one small aspect of how your desk is or how your screens are has a massive difference on your health.
Yeah, it's something you really have to think about when you're stuck in front of the desk all day. Like, it's something you should really put a lot of thought into, in my opinion, at least. At least from my experience. Like, again, I've done a ton of overtime, so I have a very clear idea of
well, overtime in the games industry and as animators, that's unheard of. How weird.
Yeah, I'm like the weird outlier now. I have no overtime. I haven't for a year. So
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and I'm still not used to it. But
yeah. I was thinking, you know, what are like some of the signs that we see of burnout? Because when I used to get burnt out, I used to not realize that that's what it was. I used to think I was just ill a lot. And it turned out that it wasn't that I was ill a lot. It was that I was wearing my body out because of all the stress I was putting on myself. Once I stopped doing that and I started listening to my body and that I could figure out what my symptoms were for when I had pushed too far, I could stop that happening before it got really bad. So for example, I can get I get sluggish with my work, and then I start physically getting symptoms really quickly. So I'll get kind of like the starting of a cold, you know, I get like sniffly and stuff, and then so I think my body is like, okay, the only way to make this woman stop is to just make her feel really ill. And then I'll be like, oh God, I feel so bad, I have to go home. So I take like a sick day. And then after just having a break all day, I'd feel fine immediately. And I was like, oh, that was weird. And I'm not contagious. And then I realized it was actually the stress, you know. So, you know, what are some of the symptoms you guys kind of notice in yourselves?
Who wants to go first?
Huh?
Can I go first?
Yeah, you haven't talked in a while. I choose you, Pokemon.
With I don't know, like with me it was more like, so when I was working on like movies and stuff, it was like I would, because like you have like the crunch time that usually goes for like, it's different, but like you can go from like 4 months to like 5, depending on like the movie, depending how like long the crunch is gonna be. And yeah, I mean like I didn't like, I don't think it was like more burnout. It was like I sacrificed a lot of stuff. Like I sacrificed like in a way like my body, like I gained a bit of weight because I wasn't like,
health goes out the window because you're focused.
So I was like, okay, if I want to spend more time in my personal work, if I do like 12 or 13 hours.
Yeah, why am I wasting this hour at the gym? I could be getting more shit done.
Exactly,
yeah.
And literally that
oh, why do I feel so bad?
Yeah, it was like one of those moments when like you don't realize you gain weight, and I just look at one of my pictures of my girlfriend, and it was like my face was just like a plum. I was like, oh my god, that was disgusting. At that point, I realized I was like, okay, I'll sleep more hours. I'll just have like healthier food, and yeah, just fall down on personal work. And I mean, as nice as it is to like produce personal work, like working on movies and stuff, like social life and like general your health is super important. Like for you to perform really well at like your job. So if you're gonna do like personal work, like it's nice, but I think an hour a day tops. Not like I used to do like 4 hours a day personal work after like work hours. It was insane. So yeah, like just balance really.
So you don't do that anymore? You've like completely chilled out on that, or?
Not really. I try to get like my weekends to like usually like travel, go around. Like I mean, I've been only in Canada for like about a year, so I just go like I don't know, like climbing or paddleboarding, something like that. So I try to like kind of like keep it different every week.
Where do you go climbing?
Oh, I usually go to like this one. What is it called?
The
I
Hive?
don't know how to say it. It's like after 23, the last stop of 23 is there. The bus 23, and then you walk for. It's close to like the Emily Carr University. I think it's
Okay,
like
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
that
meaning
one.
to go there. Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah. Well, like it's really expensive here in Vancouver compared to UK. It's super expensive. I was like, I don't know why, but yeah, I mean, like it's super nice, and it just keep you fit as well, and it's fun. It's not like like going to the gym where you just get kind of the same thing all the time. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. It is weird though. I was going to talk about this specifically, but you brought up, how you kind of saw, well, if I could get more time working if I stopped doing this stuff for my health, right? But you don't see that as that trade. It's just, well, I'm currently spending that hour in the morning or in the evening doing this, and I could actually spend it doing that. And it's just interesting to me that I feel like that's something that happens a lot, where we kind of idealize work because it's like it's your passion, so you should just be able to do this 24/7 and never tire of it because it's what you guys are passionate about. And so people will give up spending time with their family or working out because it's like, yeah, but I'm getting more time doing this thing that I love doing. But then there's costs to doing that as well.
Yeah.
Do you think staying fit is helpful to preventing burnout?
I think so, and I think as well, like in general, like as animators, like understanding life is one of the main things that we need to know how to do. So it's like you living, having these experiences, like just going around like the nature really helps as well for like your mental state. Because I noticed as well, I became super negative. Anything that people just like say something like very, I don't know, like basic, something like, oh, I don't know, like this is amazing, check out this thing. And I'm just like,
whatever, it's rubbish, I hate it.
yeah. I was
Did
like,
your
yeah,
kid make that? Oh.
yeah. I was like, look at the spacing on that. This shit's animation. No. I was super negative, and I think it just helped me a lot, and I became better at socializing with people as well. That's one of the things that I kind of lost when I was spending so much time in front of the computer.
Yeah.
So when I started like at first talking to people, it was a bit like I didn't know how to socially be like comfortable with them. There's always like this weird moment, and I was like, is it me? I think it's like me. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time, but I do suggest literally go outside every Saturday, Sunday.
Wow.
Personal work can literally wait. I don't know. That's what I think. This is why I don't see any personal work recently.
You're out like taking pictures of nature and stuff and climbing.
Yeah, I don't really post anything. I should start posting more, but I'm just super lazy. I'm very old-fashioned, so it's like my girlfriend keeps like all the social media. I'm just like maybe Twitter, text
Yeah.
some bullshit.
Yeah, if you gotta have one, go with Twitter.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. It's like a lot of community and a lot of the animators here use it. So
yeah. Or if not, the AniMates Discord.
Yeah, it's funny because most of the people that like I worked with one of my friends here, Sony, and I actually followed her like probably like 3 years ago on Twitter. And it was super weird because we started at Sony at the same time. So I was like, oh my god, I've been following you for like 3 years. It's super weird. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
Henry, do
yeah,
you do
'cause
the same thing with the keeping up with fitness and stuff?
oh, I I try to. I like to.
I like that. I try to.
I do as much as I can. We had a bunch of like social clubs at Capcom, like we had the climbing clubs, snowboarding clubs, soccer,
Nice.
whatever. Um, so it was encouraged to kind of go out and move around and not sit at the desk or whatever after work or so. So yeah, whenever I had time, I did that. I'm huge into snowboarding. It's great in
Awesome.
Vancouver. So yeah, I would go after work and just go with some buddies and ride a bunch. So and that is really great after sitting and working on a computer all day.
Mm.
It hurts my back in different ways, but it's um, yeah, no, it's super helpful for sure. But like, yeah, I totally agree. Uh, that just going out and enjoying life and going in nature and just seeing things, I think that helps prevent burnout as well as it helps in your animation skills as well because you notice things, you see things, and then that stuff kind of gets like categorized in your mind. So whenever I'm working on a shot and I remember something that I saw or did or whatever like that, something like that's like is super helpful. So yeah, definitely encourage uh yeah, people to get out and not just sit at the desk and animate like for 24 hours. But and yeah, Alexa, how was the the class yesterday? You were there?
Oh yeah, like I was literally in front of you. I told you
Yeah,
this. I was like,
yeah, I saw your Twitter message. I was like, I couldn't figure out which one you were.
I was the guy that was sleeping and snoring. I did fall asleep. I'm not gonna lie, for like half an hour. It was a bit
Oh, really?
weird. It was interesting, but like I mean, it was just drawing for a long time, and I
Hmm.
just had food. And I felt really comfortable, and yeah, I kind of do like naps. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, it was. I mean, the masterclass was like amazing. Like the guy is, I don't know. I think he's true talent. There's no other explanation.
Hmm.
I think animation in general, watching someone doing it for hours and hours, it gets very boring very fast. Like, I mean, I think, do you know like the guys that did the A tools, right? Alan Camillo.
So sorry?
You know Alan Camillo, the guy that did the A tools,
Like
and
anim tools?
the anime tools. Yeah,
Oh.
he was there. I actually
That's
want to
cool.
speak to him because he did like this tutorials like ages ago, and they were like in Portuguese, and that's how I learned 3D animation. I was like watching his, like, it was like 50 hours of tutorials.
Jeez.
I was like, I mean, I did fall asleep on his tutorials too, but I mean, they were in Portuguese. I didn't even understand them. So yeah, I mean, animation is let's get boring. Let's get boring. Yeah.
It was warm in there too, and it was easy to take a nap. But no, it was awesome. It was it was a animation master class
Nice.
yesterday in Vancouver by James Baxter, and um, he was just talking about his process, and then he did a 2D a hand drawn animation within that. How long was that? It was like it was all day. It was like 9 to 5.
With
Yeah,
him talking, like what 3 hours out of that 8 hour day.
yeah. Yeah, but it was crazy because he was animating and answering questions all at the same time and talking like yeah, he's
Sounds like he needs to stream more often.
it was amazing though. He just I'm not too familiar with like the hand-drawn process and like and all that, but like what really impressed me was he didn't play the animation until like the very end. He kept going. He did his in-betweens. He moved everything um he moved the frames around for his spacing and everything, but like yeah, at the very end he hit play and you see this amazing animation. I'm like, oh my god, what? How did he just know the spacing and the timing and everything.
Hmm.
But it was, yeah, no, it was really good.
That definitely doesn't happen when you're like starting an animation. Like you can't do that. Like, I need to check it every like I don't even have the patience. I'm like I do like a few frames. I'm like okay, I need to check how it looks.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it looks bad. It's like okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, what did I check?
Exactly. Yeah, whenever I go from step to spline, it's always like, oh my god, what just happened?
I can't do step anymore. I really can't. I feel like it puts too much. I feel like I spend too much time cleaning up my step animation after the fact. So I've started doing like twinned keys or paired keys, or like it's sort of like step, but you get that spline in between, and it gives you a feel for the timing and like in between the steps. So just yeah, it helps.
So I was wondering what you guys do when, let's say you're in crunch time and you start feeling burnt out. Like, what do you do then? What if you still got to crunch for another 8 weeks and you're feeling exhausted? Like, what do you do? Do you just find like techniques that will help you out? And if so, like, what are they? Or do you just say, I just can't do this? Or do you just power through and hope that light at the end of the tunnel will come sooner than you falling over will? Or
In my case, with my last job, definitely just had to power through it. I really didn't have a choice in the situation. Um, Arc's closure kind of left me in a very shitty spot with no reel to really go anywhere else. It was very much a stuck between a like rock and a hard place.
yeah.
I had to power through a lot of overtime, a lot of unpaid overtime, um, a lot of just really brutal projects with. Are we allowed to use bad language on here?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
with frame fuckers, are like they just have to nitpick everything, and that job was perpetually just tear through, just get through it. That's all you can really do
Hmm.
because the quotas were so insane. You had to do it. Like we were so understaffed when we started on Barbie. I was on a Mattel project for a few months before I finally got the job at Ubisoft, and because we were so understaffed, I'd been promised a 24-second a week quota, which would have been reasonable, and I was like, all right, I'll use this time to take some animation lessons. I threw $2,000 towards an iAnimate course for
Hmm.
body mechanics and workflows, and then no, the quota was 62 seconds a week.
Oh
So
man, 62
I
seconds
was
a
fine,
week?
Whoa.
and I
6 seconds a week?
60.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wish I was exaggerating. I'm not. I did it. I really had no choice but to do it. Also, we had to learn 3ds Max with no training, and we had to jump into an episode. And I don't know, that job taught me a lot about. It was a very unhealthy job, and I
Hmm.
knew that, but I just had to power through it, and there was very little I could do in this situation. And so yeah, for me it was just do the damn stuff and hope for the best and try to look for other jobs, and why is no one calling back. And it was a very rough year.
Yeah. No, it sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Did you like figure like while you were doing it though, you must have been feeling yourself getting exhausted.
Oh, I was perpetually running on empty. Exhaustion's all I felt from when I started working at that job till
Wow.
like I finally started learning how to relax at Ubisoft. It was just a
Wow.
constant state of being. And I think for me, I don't know if I ever reached peak burnout with them, but I definitely had multiple breakdowns on the show where I
Wow.
had to like just get up and go to the bathroom and cry for 5 minutes and then come back and go to work again because it's literally the only form of stress relief I had. Mind you, it's probably one of the best forms of stress relief I had, and I highly recommend giving it a go. If you ever feel emotionally overwhelmed, just go cry. It's amazing. Um,
You were like, I'm good now.
there was a shot on Puppy Dog Pals where it should have been 4 shots, and someone at Disney was like, you know what, it would be better as one shot with a bunch of camera moves even though there's 4 characters in it. So now it's 28 seconds long, and it could have been easily 4 cuts, but no, now it's going to be like something that could have been like a couple, like it could have easily made my life easier if it was 4 second shots, but because of, again, the 4 characters and the 30 seconds and like just the amount of time it took to play blast and the amount of time trying to figure out the camera movement and how
Right.
these characters are moving around, it became like a week-long job, and it shouldn't have
Wow.
been. And then on top of that, there was the temp audio. They didn't have the actual audio, and they're like, just follow it, and they'll get the voice actors to like sync it up. And of course, they didn't do that. So I had to go back in and change the acting again because when, fun fact for those of you who don't animate, if you get audio retakes, sometimes that means you have to completely redo the animation because the tone's completely different.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was one of my go to the bathroom and cry moments. That show was a nightmare. I shouldn't I don't know.
Do you think that that job was so hard because do you think that the fact that you are doing a job because you love it, do you think that had an impact on why it was so stressful? As in, like, do you think if that job was just data entry, but it was a crap ton of data entry or something, do you think you would have had the same reaction because it's still stressful? Or do you think it was the fact that you had to get so much done and you couldn't make it to the standard that you wanted it was also a factor?
I think the biggest problem was morale was very low at that studio, and we were working on a Disney project. And working for Disney when you're not actually part of Disney is never a good time.
Hmm.
Um, if you get a show from Disney, it means that your company was the lowest bidder, and they have probably claimed that they can do a lot with very little money, and so you get strung pretty thin. Like that's really all there is to say about it.
Wow.
I've been on 2 Disney productions. I have been witness to 3, and it's a lot of it was that particular, yeah, working for that client is a nightmare, and working at that studio in general was just very low morale, which didn't help. And it was not a good point in my life, but there was very little to work with in Toronto at that time after ARC's closure, because that was the largest studio in Canada that went under. So it went from like it basically it's still affecting the industry in the area. So yeah, sorry, I'm sidetracking, but yeah, essentially like it was I worked with what I had at the time. I don't think it had to do with being passionate about it. Like I really loved animation, but a lot of it is your environment. And
Sure.
I said that from a physical standpoint, but you need to have an emotionally positive environment too. Like working on Troll Hunters, I worked perpetual 48 and 60-hour work weeks. And that was okay because I was around people who were really wonderful people to work with,
Hmm.
who really loved what they were working on and were very passionate and just helpful, and it was a wholesome environment in spite of the fact of how stressful it was.
Hmm.
And yeah, we knew we were making something really great.
Yeah, I guess this
But
is the difference between having stressful work or a stressful environment is like a huge difference.
yeah, like there's so many ways that a company can like work up like basically like yeah, like make it so that their teams are less likely to reach burnout,
Hmm.
and definitely like making sure morale is not in the shitter is one of them.
What do you think some of the ways a company could help employees not get burnt out would be?
I think a lot of it is like I feel like you need to acknowledge your production team a little more. Um, you need to have some sort of solace for them, and you I don't feel like as fun as Troll Hunters was, that was not a sustainable system
Hmm.
of like the amount of overtime we were doing. Like a lot of it should be like people should budget better, but you really can't with how clients will try to find someone to do it for the least amount of money for them. So there's not much that can be done on that end. Like it's a really hard question to answer.
Yeah. I guess it's also partly that the industries we work for are both, so it's so subjective when the work is done. Um, You know, it's not like, you know, when you get this answer, then it's fine. You can get something looking perfect, and then someone says, you know what, I don't like it at all. Do something completely different, and expect it for the same time frame or the same budget. You know, I think clients I've heard doing that a lot, where they'll say, oh, I want this and I want this. And, you know, someone gave me the analogy once of, it's like if you went into a cake store and said, can I have a chocolate cake? So they spent hours making you a chocolate cake, and they were like, here's your chocolate cake. It's you know, $20. And they were like, oh, but actually I've decided I want carrot cake. And it's like, right, yeah, but I gave you a chocolate cake. And they're like, yeah, but I've decided I want a carrot cake. So they go away and they make you a carrot cake. And they're like, why is this late? And you're like, well, I had to make you a new cake. And they're like, well, it's not good enough. And they're like, okay, well, it's now $40 because I had to make you 2 cakes. And they're like, no, the first cake was wrong. You can't charge me for the first cake. You know? And then they're like, yeah, but I don't really like this kind of carrot cake either. So can you, you know, I don't.
That's very on point. That being said, I could probably compare with like what I'm currently doing, where we are like working at a company where it's their own IPs. I find like Ubisoft is kind of neat in the sense that they don't want you to do overtime.
Yeah.
They try really hard to. There's definitely overtime that is done by people, and it sucks. But like the amount of overtime I've had to do at Ubisoft so far is 0, and that's with a year next month, which is really astounding. And like, you do have your crunch, but they pace for it, and they hire accordingly, and they budget their time better, and they cut things where they need to cut stuff. And I think because the people who are running the show also have a better understanding of how the production system works. I think that's where I'm seeing some like big differences. And that's not to say I end up very busy, and I've definitely had cases where people change things on the fly. Like I have one particular animation I've been having to make, and it's been 3 months of just trying to get it right, just back and forth of like tone changes, and like there's definitely like redos, but you shouldn't be having your teams working 60s. Like if your teams are working perpetual overtime, you're doing something wrong with management.
Yeah. Do you think there's a difference between the VFX industry, the TV industry, and the game industry with how they handle planning for shots, crunch time, you know, works a little differently depending on what kind of product you're making, definitely. But do you think how Burnout is handled is better or worse in some kinds of media than others?
I wouldn't say by media, I would say by studio.
I would agree with that.
I think that Telltale Games' closure is a really good example of that this week.
Yeah.
I don't know if you two have any opinion. Like I don't know if am I the only one here that has worked in both TV and games, or?
Yes.
Yeah, I've only done games.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, and you've only done 2. Okay, I'm weird apparently. No, I do think it's a studio to studio thing and not a production style to production, media to media thing. Like
yeah.
I know Sony at the very least does a ton of overtime based on what my friend Chase been telling me. And I'm sorry for that.
I mean,
hope you're doing okay.
It very depends on the production, I think, as well, because you get productions that are handled with different clients. I mean, you got like movies that obviously some belong to like Marvel, you got Warner Brothers and so on. So it just depends on the clients, really, I think, because sometimes if the client's not happy, it's not up to the director, or the director might be amazing, but if the client is not happy at the end of the day, you work with clients, so that goes all the way down to the chain, and then you have to do whatever's wrong with it. So I think with time, you just get like more used to the fact that like it's out of your control. You just, you should just do and like not get attached to your shots. It's just a shot. I mean, on Hotel, I had like a lot of shots got cut. I think like I had like about 9 or something. It's a long, and it was like long shots.
For a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the sequence is not like finished sometimes, and it works better without a sequence. So yeah, it happens, you know. I had a friend recently that worked on a movie for like 3 months, and then all of his shots were cut. So that's like having zero to show up for the movie. But it happens, you know. Uh, and I don't know. I think like you just should learn not to get attached to your shots and not do any overtime for sure. I mean, if you do overtime, I've seen people that do instead of 12 hours, they do like 16. So it's like most hours and stuff. I advise against that. Like it is so bad, so bad.
Do you think that because we work in an industry where we're technically working on our passions, that people can kind of glamorize overworking, where it's to the point where it's like, oh, well, you're going to work 8 hours, well, I'm going to work 400. And it's like, well, that's not healthy. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm still better than you because do you think there's like a sense of, not just necessarily at work is what I'm thinking. We can't always control the company we're working for, the crunch time that they expect us to do. But I'm talking more when you're maybe in more of a relaxed environment, but you still feel that you should be pushing yourself. So you see people working till 10 at night, and then they go home and they do another 6 hours work, and they get up even earlier. And do you think that's something that a lot of people deal with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like mostly connected to passion. I think it's mostly connected about the fact that maybe they want to perform really well, get more shots, or because
Just
after
career goals instead
yeah,
of
after
love for it.
so certain people are paid, certain people are not. So if you work more hours, obviously your work it's better because you spend more time on polishing, which polishing is like takes literally most of the time to do.
Yeah.
Oh man, actually, wait.
Yeah.
I have a notebook with Troll Hunter's notes in it, and I have one shot. I have one shot, and I should try to find this. I believe it's shot 168. Sorry, you can continue. I just want to show you
That's okay.
guys after this.
No, I mean, it's just, I feel like people just wanna, I mean, I would like to get more shots, especially when like some of mine got cut. I would love to have done some ghost hours to get more shots, but at the end of the day, I wanna take care of myself as well. I am a human being and I do need like rest and I need some fun. I need to like go out with my friends and drink sometimes and, you know, do other stuff. Party. I'm still 25. I still wanna enjoy myself.
You've done so much already, and you're only 25. God, so cool. But also, yeah, go outside, appreciate life, take walks.
I remember someone on Twitter posted something that's like, sometimes you just need some water and to go outside and get some sunlight. A lot of you people are just like poorly looked after houseplants. And I was like, yeah, It's like I remember one of the techniques I sometimes used to use. It's interesting because like my experience with burnout is usually more self-inflicted than it is work-inflicted. So I can't imagine how horrible it must be to be in a company where they're forcing you to work and you don't have anything left to give. But I remember one of the techniques I used to use was I treat myself like a sim, like in the game. Like I'm a sim. When was the last time I had a shower? And when was the last time I had a decent meal? And when was the last time I went out? Is my fun bar maxed? Is my sleep bar maxed? Am I, and it was like, if I can tick off all the basic human needs, then what's left except for just, giving it a break, sometimes used to help me.
Well, I mean, like, that's why I like working at Sony because, like, so far they've been very, like, good. Like, they don't, if you do overtime hours, they do pay those, which is nice. I like the fact that, you know, they don't insist on, like, literally, like, Sony doesn't tolerate ghost hours. So if you get caught, that is literally bad.
Wow.
So,
That's really cool.
That is cool.
yeah, I like that. I like that about Sony, and so far they've been treating me super nicely. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, so far, it's the best company I've worked for. I mean, I did a lot of in VFX. I did a lot of overtime that was unpaid, or they have the little tricks. It's like, oh, you get free lunch, and it's like, yeah, but the lunch costs £10, but I'm actually working for £20 an hour, so that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, I guess. I mean, I understand with the VFX houses bidding for movies and stuff, but it's very, hard. And I think it's one of the reasons a lot of artists are moving away from London, I think, as well.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know how things are gonna go in the future. I hope they're gonna get better. I
Yeah.
mean, movies are making a lot more money now, and especially games.
There's
Games,
definitely more an awareness of it, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Although it's sad to hear so many studios closing recently.
Yeah.
Sorry, Henry.
One-
If anyone knows of any jobs out there that are in Vancouver and they want some
Come
really
to
good talent, yeah,
We
come
need
to
more
Toronto.
engineers right now, please.
Yeah, but man, Henry, you got like 20 years of experience, man. Like you're like
Maybe not 20, but I got some experience.
Toronto's rent is cheaper than Vancouver.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll come.
Probably more food.
Save more food?
Oh yeah, we're like the food capital of the world here in Toronto.
Man, need to go do that.
I've actually never been to Toronto yet. I've been to Montreal, but
You
I
gotta.
gotta come visit before the snow hits.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Montreal's beautiful too.
Oh yeah. Cool.
There was a tweet though that was going around in regards to like overtime, and it was someone saying it was someone from Telltale, and they said like it doesn't matter how much unpaid overtime I worked, it did not get me my severance when the studio went under.
They didn't get
Companies did not
severance?
care. No, they did not get severance.
I didn't know that.
That's
Yeah.
brutal.
Oh, that's awful.
Like, and the companies do not care about you, and unfortunately, like as companies will try really hard to care about you sometimes, but in the long and short of things, like no, like there's a very high chance that you will get fucked over by a company. So again, I've been only in the industry 3 years, and I'm on my third job, and I wasn't fired. It was all like closures and layoffs from productions being canceled.
Wow,
And
that's rough.
yeah, so like for me, I have serious trust issues, and I'm nearing a year at Ubisoft, and I'm expecting it to go tits up. Like I it's all I know. So
Oh, that's really sad.
I know I
Like, it
found
shouldn't work like
really
that.
jaded. And I feel like the more passionate people, and I considered myself passionate, but I also really liked my sleep. And when I started at ARC, and we were put on to 60-hour work weeks, like right from the get-go, I was fresh out of college, and
Oh,
so for me, and people were wondering, like, why aren't you upset about this overtime? I'm like, guys, I have weekends now. I don't know what you're talking about. So for me, it was actually still like a step down on the stress bar. But
yeah.
at the same time, like there was a lot about ARC.
What was the tweet you said was going around? Oh, the companies don't care.
Telltale. And yeah,
Right.
and I'm seeing a lot of parallels between what happened with Telltale and what happened with ARC.
Sure.
Poor management like meant that production got like the shit end of the stick on things. And I just remember getting that message that guys, we're locked out of the building. Like we don't have jobs anymore.
Oh my gosh.
And I just remember being in like full panic mode because this was my first job. This was my first experience with things. And it gave me and I was fresh out of a job with no demo reel. Trollhunters wasn't out. Elena of Avalor wasn't out. I was stuck for a while. And the only reason I got that job at the second place, Snowball, is because they did an animation test, which honestly I really wish more studios did.
Really?
So much. I went to a couple job fairs, and you go up with your student reel, and you just see the recruiter's eyes glaze over.
See, here's something that I was like meaning to ask you is that you said, okay, companies don't care about you. Was your point? So would you not say that it's even more important to spend time doing your own personal work in case you have something happen? I had a friend who said this happened to a friend of his, that he did like four years of work on this company, and then they went under and he couldn't use any of it in a show reel, and he hadn't done any personal work. And the point he made was, isn't it better to be at least working on your own work at home, so that if you ever need to go and apply for other jobs or something happens at the company, you have work that you can rely on?
Yeah, you definitely need to make sure your reel is constantly up to date with something. Again, that's something I learned the hard way.
But how do you deal with that if you're currently at a company that crunches all the time and you're supposed to go home and do personal work without burning yourself out?
Try really hard. Well, it should be something like I don't know about anyone else. I always did something when I was in university called the sanity piece, where it was like a little project that I did
Oh,
where I
that's
was like,
cool.
I need to do something that isn't my work, and I would go and I just draw something for me or I'd animate something for me,
Mm.
and it was something that because there was no one there and I had no deadline, and it was just something fun that I enjoyed.
Mm.
That's,
I
don't know.
like that, the sanity piece. It's like need to reset. I like that. Guys, we are officially done on the show. If anyone needs to go, that's fine. Maybe we could do some questions if we have any.
Oh yeah, there was a question on the chat that I want to answer. Let me try and find it again. Animal Nature asks, I think I said when I had time. He says how much finding personal time is really under our control, and also how do juniors work smarter when they may already be struggling just to keep up? I don't know if you guys have any.
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
Sorry.
My bad.
He's asking how much is having and finding personal time really under our control, and as a junior, let's see. Also, how can a junior work smarter when they may already be struggling to keep up?
Work smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing that.
How do you work smarter?
Yeah, what do you guys think?
Better planning, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you better plan your shot, that looks like literally the smartest thing you can do. Like poorly planning is always like the worst thing. It's like one of the things that, like, I usually do. I'll perform really like poorly, and then I'll be like, oh, shit, okay, I should like actually reshoot my reference, but I'm already in blocking. Oh, that sucks. So then I have to redo the blocking. So yeah, that was like one of my first mistakes when I started. It was just like I'll jump straight into Maya and I'll pose like the things like the way, because I did 2D animation as my first job.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I can do this like I got my poses down, and then just to discover that my poses don't really work when I start animating. So yeah.
I personally would not like to hear of a junior that's struggling. That's sad to me. That, I feel like the junior position is that it's someone who's still learning, and I would hope that it's run like how it was run for me, which is that you had a mentor and that they're kind of looking after you. And the sentiment I got was, we care more about the quality of work you do than the quantity, because right now you're a student and you're learning, and the speed at which you can do things will improve fairly quickly, but the quality is harder to improve. So just focus on getting the quality right and don't worry about getting the task done. Now, I wish I'd listened to that advice, but I 100% didn't, because I'm very much the sort of person that's like, you give me a list and I want to get through all the things. And I wish I'd taken more time to slow down and make sure the quality was right, because people would say to me, hey Elise, you can spend some more time on this, and I'd be like, no, it's done, I'm fine, I'll go on to the next thing. And they'd kind of be saying, this quality isn't high enough yet, you should spend some more time on it. But I didn't realize that's what they were meaning. But it kind of makes me sad to think that there's a junior that's been put under so much pressure that they feel like they can't keep up, because at the point where you're hired in the industry, you should already have the skill to be able to do it, I think. So they shouldn't be putting you under so much pressure that you can't keep up. But I think personally the only way overall to help yourself with that is to just do work at home. I've seen people that have, I don't know, you can tell the people that work at home, I think, the difference in how quickly they progress, I think. In terms of the how you can help yourself in the short term, I would probably just say just go and ask for help. That's what I would say. I would just go and find someone who's talkative and will talk to you and be like, hey, I really want to improve. Can you have a look at this shot for me or this animation and just tell me what you would do with it? And they'll be like, oh, did you think about doing that? And you go, wow, that's amazing. I will. And you write it all down and then you cross all those off and you go back and you're like, hey, I'm a junior artist. Can you have another look? And they're like, well, yeah, all right. And then, you know, I find that usually animators can be pretty friendly and helpful unless they're also way under pressure, and then maybe it's more of a studio issue than a junior artist sort of issue. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I, I think like that's when it comes to like that whole learning to be a bit more sociable comes back into play. Because I have like friends that like, because they spend so much time, they're a bit less sociable. Like it is actually a skill that you can lose if you don't practice enough.
Yeah.
So I think as a junior, I would advise to just make friends, like because you're still new in the industry, just speak to people and yeah, ask for advice. I mean, when I started, I was just I had like this like so like the guy that was sitting from me, he used to animate on I think The Lion King, and I was like, hey dude, can you just check my shot and tell me what's wrong with it, even if you have no time, you just do it.
This is shit. Start again.
Yeah, and then he would just look at it, he's like, yeah, it's fine, man, it's fine.
Oh, that's nice.
I know it's not. I know it's not. You do get like some people that can help you out, like friends. Asking
Yeah.
for advice from friends is like a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
I work with this. I work with this guy. He's a friend of mine. He's from Thailand, and he's like amazing. He has like amazing short reel. Like he did like this like Spider-Man like short with like fighting a robot. And, like,
Oh, I've seen that. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, if ever have like a physical shot, I just ask him questions. I'm like, oh, do you like the camera? What do you think? And then he's like, oh yeah, the camera needs a bit of work, but a bit more polished. I'm like, how the hell do you polish a camera, man?
Yeah.
It's a camera.
Yeah.
He's like, you should just ease into this move, maybe put a bit more frames there, shake it. I was like, oh, yeah, you're crazy. But it does help. It does help a lot.
Do you think students and interns and juniors are more likely to suffer from burnout because they may, I don't know, they may have higher expectations of themselves, or they might not know what burnout looks like for them specifically, or I think, the learning curve is pretty steep. And if you've been in the industry a couple of years, maybe it'll kind of even out. Do you think that there's like it's more likely you'll get burnout the less experience you have?
I had a talk that I did at Taffy, which is the Toronto Animation Arts Film Festival International. So yeah, I was there, and it was like a recent grads talk, and I was like, is my position okay? Like, even I've been out 3 years, is that recent grad still? And I ended up in it, but there was some kids there that were like in their first job, and I just remember there was this one girl, because everyone else was like, we probably sounded way more pessimistic than we realized, I won't lie. But it was a lot of just like, hi, I have experienced the worst of things. Let me just give you my advice in case these things happen to you, because they probably will.
Yeah.
And there was a girl, and she's, bless her heart, she was an animator at Mercury Filmworks, I think, which is, or is it Mercury Filmworks? It's a studio up in Ottawa, and their quotas are insane. But basically, it's something that she really wanted to do. She had the drive, but basically, she kind of came into it, and she heard us talking. She's like, I feel like I'm really left out here. I love my job, unlike these other people.
Oh.
I had to kind of like go back and sort of be like, okay, can I just rephrase here? I really do love what I'm doing, but I've also, and so like, there's definitely juniors who come in and they are like, I was definitely one of those trying to be hardworking, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Just I need to be able to do what I can, and I'm sure that what I experienced, like, it's a weird mix, because juniors are probably more susceptible to being at the very least exploited for overtime.
Yes, I
But
agree.
I don't think they've lost all their energy just yet. So I do think, yeah, they're on the track to burnout. They have a steady track to it, but I was definitely more alive during my first couple years. And I don't think I burned out at Snowball, and I had every right to. Um, so I it's really hard to say because yeah, I think that juniors are more susceptible to that unhealthy idea of how much one should be working. Especially when you've got the crazy quotas and like you've got all these people that are better than you all around you, and you need to try and keep up with them. Like
Yeah,
you're intimidated by all of these
that's
people
true.
because that's what happened to me. But at the same time, like being a junior is also where you learn the most.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have a mentor. I was just thrown onto the show and I would talk to my lead whenever I could, and they scared the crap out of me. They shouldn't. Like they're really, really wonderful people, but I was intimidated by them, and so. But yeah, I think I did hit burnout once on Troll Hunters because I just there was one point like a month later where I just remember it was like I'd gotten in at 8 a.m. and it was some point I forget it was like 8 in the evening. Like I was intending to stay till 10 p.m. But I would go into Maya and I'd play blast the animation and I look at the animation and I go, okay, I see the problem, and I close it and I go back into Maya and I play blast the animation and I look, and I just ended up in a cycle like that for 30 minutes where I didn't actually do anything but just hit play blast
Mm,
repeatedly
yeah.
for half an hour.
The play glass curse.
I short circuited, and I think that's the point where I went, oh, okay, I've hit a
This is it.
problem.
This is the
And
wall.
I had a friend inviting me to his Halloween party that night, and I was like, I can't, man. I can't do it. I'm exhausted. I need to sleep. He said, you can sleep when you're dead. And I said, when I'm dead, I'm
That'll be
dead.
tomorrow.
And he went, oh, I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I was toast.
Yeah.
So that's at least my closest experience with like true just yeah, I just stop. I end up in some sort of feedback loop. That's where I fall. But yeah, and again, I hadn't even been in the industry a year yet. And
Yeah.
I haven't gotten that bad since, surprisingly. And but I think I started to know what to look for. And I also feel like I took care of myself better than a lot of other potential juniors probably would have.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
I think I don't want to keep you guys much longer because I said it. We
sorry.
cut off at 5. No, it's been great. I would talk to you guys for another 12 hours if I could. But I think maybe what a really nice way to close up the show would be if everyone just said a little thing as if you were talking to someone right now who is really burnt out and really struggling and just had a lot of restrictions on themselves, and like what would you tell that person from your own experience? So maybe we'll just go along my little line here. So Alec, what do you think? What would you say?
What would I say? I don't know. Just I don't
Go
know.
outside.
I think like a super chilled out person. So I would just say like just relax, just go home, and just I don't know, do something with your friends, meet out, go for drinks, socialize. We as humans need contact so much. Honestly, I don't know. In general, I do hate people a lot. I'm a very negative person, but I do love meeting our friends and even meeting new people. I do love that. So I think that's the main thing that I would say. Um, and another thing, just try something new as well to refresh your thing. Just I don't know, something new that you've never done. You never played baseball or whatever. Yeah, I never played baseball and I tried it. It's like kind of cool actually. You hit a ball. It's actually kind of nice. You try. So it's fun. Just something new to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
What about you, Henry?
Um, let's see. I guess I would try and identify what is really the cause of your burnout, and what you're struggling with. For someone like who's getting new to animation, like a junior who's struggling to keep up, sometimes saying go and relax from not doing any animation, that might kind of work against kind of what their goals are, where it's like they want to improve or so. So it's very difficult. But I would say you have to kind of plan everything out. Plan like what your goals are. What do you want to kind of achieve for that one week or 1 month or 1 year. Like, so you plan out the how much you want to learn in animation and what you want to produce, as well as your personal life as well. And then you have to see everything as one whole, as your life, I guess. And then
It's your life.
yeah, exactly.
Go live it.
So yeah, so then I find like that way it's much easier to not miss out on things because you've already accounted and planned out time for meeting with friends or going outside or whatnot, as well as you're kind of focused on like, I want to get this one shot for this week and I want this shot to be just about body mechanics, or I just want to learn this. And then that way, if the shot isn't working on day one, you can be like, I want to focus on body mechanics. I can talk to whoever you's at work or whoever you're following on Twitter and be like, hey, I'm trying to do this thing. It's not working for me. Can you give me some help or whatever? Or you can go outside and film reference and do whatever. But I think just having the plan and having that focus will help, and then that'll help achieve all your goals, and hopefully things go according to plan, and then you'll have a balance of progressing in your craft, as well as not working too crazy. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Good answer. Stoner, what would you go with?
Oh boy.
Positive.
I think the really big thing is like, don't force yourself. You're still like your own person. You're not completely dedicated, like you shouldn't be completely dedicated to the project or to the company. You should go do your own things. You should definitely, like, if you're stressed, you should talk about it with people, and you should try to do what you can to keep yourself mentally and physically healthy, because getting into those ruts of just negativity and self-loathing, and also just like, again, like losing your own personal health is just, it's not going to be good for you in the long run, and you should maintain it as best as you can. Don't, like, if you find yourself stopping, like you're not getting as far as you wanted to, just go home. If you're slowing down, you need the rest.
Yeah.
And running on empty is going to get you absolutely nowhere with the shots that you're working on.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, 100% what you guys have already said. I think to me, most of the battle is just knowing when you are burnt out and when it's starting to happen. Because I think initially I didn't even know it was a thing. And the more people talked about it, and the more I researched about it, and the more I actually just spent time, it sounds really stupid, but just listening to what my body wanted. Your body will be telling you, it'll probably be screaming at you until it just gives up and just, makes you feel terrible. And I think, partly it's just, being able to know how you actually react to it, and to be able to spot those symptoms early on so you catch it way before it gets terrible. And even if you're at the point where you have to crunch or you have to do whatever and there's nothing you can do, I know I'm burnt out, but I need to get this done. I think you just need to be aware of the fact that you know that you're running yourself down, and to just try and make things as stress-free as possible, and to take regular breaks, and don't go home and do more personal work. You're already on like a downward slope. Don't make it like that instead, because you're trying to, you've got to kind of be kind to yourself and realize that, just because I can't give 100% right now doesn't mean that that's the way it's always going to be. I'm in a place right now where I need to stop myself from running down any faster than I can. And even if that's just like curling up in bed and just being like having a nap, or if it's going out with friends or having a cup of tea or curling up with a good book or whatever it is, and just knowing that, when you feel like working again, that's when you're kind of good to go. And just managing, I think it's something you learn over time, you'd hope.
Yeah.
It's just a oh I've done this before. Oh yeah, this is that thing I do. Better nip that in the bud and take tonight off, you know, instead of it being 6 months have gone by and I've not slept. And it's like I had a thing recently where I wasn't burnt out, but we went camping and I didn't sleep that night, and I woke up feeling crap the next day. And it's like, yeah, I could push myself and spend all today working, but it's gonna make me feel really run down, and that's gonna make me spend more time off from working than I would gain working today. So I've got to be nice to my future self and give myself some rest now so I don't regret it later. Sort of thing. Cool. Well, I think that's a good sign-off point. So thank you guys for joining me. Sorry for David and Bryn, who couldn't join us today, but will be joining us next week. Actually, no, they won't, because next week is Henry's interview. If you're still good for that, he is. So
should be. My schedule has been pretty crazy, but yeah, we should be good, I think.
Yeah, cool. So that's just going to be me, unfortunately, drilling Henry with a bunch of questions, and just trying to figure out just like what makes him go and how he's become such a successful lead animator and everything. So that should be a lot of fun. It'll be same time next week, and we'll be doing a bunch more of these shows in the future. And if you go on our like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, there's another one, I can't remember, all the things, then I'll keep you posted. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll try and get this will be on Twitch, but I'll also be putting up on the YouTube channel, so if you know anyone who's missed it that might benefit from it, you can send that to them. So yeah, thanks for tuning in.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Right,
With the AniMates. Bye guys.
Bye.